Soprano.
Hello and welcome to another morning in the garage. Boy, it's a chilly, wet, stormy morning here. We got a lot of rain, and there's supposed to be a lot more rain coming. Um, and It's a nice day to be inside the garage and not outside getting all wet. So let's give an update on where we are so far with our ukulele project. Last we saw, I was gluing up, I believe, I glued up the back, and I needed to then glue up the top, what they call the top. So I had my diving board fixture kind of projecting out here, or maybe like ironing board would be a better way, kind of something to kind of work on that sticks out. And then we did the top. I clamped and glued all these pieces, so these are all glued on here, and I think they came out pretty good. And then last night I went ahead and I made this fixture. I can take these clamps off. We don't really need these here. I went ahead and made this fixture, and let me give you a closer look at it. In the instructions, it says that these two blocks are the same size, which obviously they're not. I'm going to make a decision that the larger one would go toward the front because this is supporting the, what do you call it? The neck of the ukulele, and so this is going to get the most pressure. Also, they didn't really cut them very accurate here. This needs to be flush with this surface, so I'm going to go ahead and cut both of these to size before I glue them on. So now I have a lot better fit in terms of the height. I just want to break off a bunch of these little stray pieces, as well as I'm going to kind of relieve the edges here so I don't have a stressor point. There we go, just round it over a little bit before I glue it, and that's going to be really nice, and I'll do the same thing with this other piece. Now I could put a mark in the center there to line it up with the center of this, but I think I can just eyeball it, glue it, and clamp it. So I just kind of smooth this out, get some of the excess glue with my finger, and then just put the excess glue on the inside of this to kind of wet it a little bit, get it all ready to accept this piece. And then I'm going to wipe my finger off and then just push this in. And then now the block's just a little bit proud of this surface. It's going to give me a little bit of sanding there just to get it exactly flush. And I'm just going to come with my finger along the inside edge there and wipe off any excess glue. No big deal. And we'll do the same thing with the small piece. This Titebond 3 is really nice, and it dries so fast. It's really cool. My first time using the Titebond 3. You've seen me use the Titebond 2 many, many times, and like that. And I also like the Titebond 3. Just pushing that down so it's flat on the template, and then pull this side through. Then one more time, making sure we're right where we want to be. And then just kind of smooth out that glue on the edges. And that is going to be very, very strong once that dries. It's kind of interesting because the materials for the ukulele are very light and I don't know if flimsy is the right word, but they're lightweight. But when you build it in such a way, just some small pieces, it becomes really, really strong. It's amazing the strength of the instrument, even though it's relatively lightweight and doesn't use a lot of heavy duty structure to it. So just only what you need. That's pretty neat. All right, so now the next thing to do is lay in these strips. I'm just going to kind of dry fit it here, and this should be even with the top. And it doesn't look like I'm going to need to cut this at all. So this should be flush with the top here when I glue it. And yeah, doesn't look like I need to cut it at all. And then I need to get a whole bunch of clothespins and some rubber bands. So let me work on getting that. Okay, I came up with 20 clothespins with the rubber band put around there. I found some rubber bands and I found some clothespins. And so I think we're ready to start gluing in this strip that goes around here. I think if we just put some glue and just started clamping it, I think that's the way we do it. All right, now we'll do the same thing with the back with another piece. Okay, so I'll just let that dry, and then once that's dry I can even take these clamps off, take all these off, turn it over, and then I have the two more strips to go on the other side, and we'll do that. While I'm waiting for that part to dry before I flip it over and do the other side of the body, I could probably use my time I'm waiting for the glue to dry to work on the fretboard a little bit. Now this part was a little confusing to me because they have these little dots that they put in the side of the fretboard. And at first I was like, I had no idea why that would be. And then I kind of figured out that, like, because the small end goes toward this end and the body is here. And then when you're looking down, so sometimes I guess you're looking down this way and you can't see these dots. So they put a little dot here so that you can see it from this angle, because sometimes you can't see that angle. So that's what I think the purpose of these little dots are. And this one has two dots. Then there's one here, and there's one here, and then this one has another one here, but there's actually no dot here. But I see in the photo and the video that they did that. So what I'm going to try to do is drill a few holes in here and see if I can't insert this little plastic rod, glue it in there, and then cut it off. So let's see if we can do that now. So I don't know if I can just freehand this. I'm not sure that's such a good idea, but let's try it. If I just kind of eyeball this right here, can you see that? Okay. There. Well, that wasn't so bad. And then I can just glue this in, and they have you cutting it off. And so if I could probably cut a few different pieces of this. So I can kind of let them all glue in there at the same time. That might be the way to go. Let me get some clippers. All right, so I think I'm going to try to cut this without it jumping all over the place. And let me stick all these in first, and then I'll come back with a paper towel. So I found if you're working on a big project and you want it to move along a little bit, sometimes you need to jump around and work on different parts of it at different times, because you don't want to just sit there and wait for everything, like every glue to dry, when I could do this as well while that's drying and then come back and forth. You need to jump around a little bit sometimes, but that's okay. All right. And then next thing to do is cut the frets. So I think they had us taking the fret material. Okay, that's better. All right, we'll just put that down. And then they have you putting this in and kind of hammering it in. Fret has like a thin side with some serrations, and then I think the side that goes out. So I said you kind of have to balance it here and then hammer it, I guess. Wow, and I really got it close to the edge there. Now let me go ahead and cut the rest of these. So how many do I need to cut? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 more. I think I can probably come back later and trim these off. Or maybe just with my my belt sander, just kind of belt sand them off. That might work. Well, let me cut all of these. I'm just going to cut all of these to the length, and then and it looks like I have a little bit to spare here. After I put super glue in there, I can probably come by and knock these off a bit. You know, it might be easier to knock these pins off before I put the frets on. Just don't want to cut into the wood. That's what I'm trying to kind of avoid. All right, that worked pretty good. And then just a nice file. All right, now I have my dots. That worked great. So let's go ahead and put all the rest of the frets in, and then we'll work on cutting those off and sanding them to length. Although I may want to put the super glue in first, so I may have to. I made this sanding a block, I guess you'd call it, and I just wrapped a piece of sandpaper around this. This is a very flat piece, so that once I take all those clamps off, the clothespins, then I can like sand the whole top of that and get it really flat. But in the meantime, I thought, well, what the heck? Maybe I can use this to kind of help me hold this a bit with some sandpaper, and it's a nice firm surface. Maybe that will work good. Let's try. And the last one. This is kind of fun. Before I start cutting these or grinding these down at all, I think I want to put that super glue in there just so they don't go anywhere. But that looks really, really nice. I think that's cool. Okay, let's move our attention back to the body. Just kind of sand everything flat. Let's spend a few minutes kind of doing this and make sure we get this whole thing flat before we put the top on. All right, after just a few minutes, it really trued this all up. I don't see anything that's sticking up. It's all nice and flat. That really works great, and it took me like a minute. Okay, now this is the tricky part because I think this is going to be hard to get out of this fixture. I think this might be difficult. So I think what I might do is take apart the mold. Yeah. Oh, this is a little... Come on. Come on. This is... Wow, that looks nice. Look at how nice that looks. But this is a little bit glued onto here. And how did that happen? Man, that glue is strong. Kind of work it like this. Oh, there we go. Just kind of worked it away from there. Huh. Alright, so now if we just took this, flipped it around, put this down in here, and then I think we can reattach our blocks. Just making sure it's all the way down on the mold. And then we can put the banding in there. Now what do we do? So we just take our strips. It's easier without the without these clamps here. And we'll just kind of leave that to dry for about an hour.